of Game TV here. Welcome to our broadcast. Every Saturday, I should say, we are here at 11. We are behind schedule due to some technical difficulties, but we are here now. We want to welcome you. This is Game TV. Game TV is the media platform of the grassroots alternative movement. Joining me today, we have a guest, by the way, but joining me to have this conversation with this guest is Mr. Josiah Joker. Joe, welcome. Another edition. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. I am so excited to be here today. And I will tell you that it promises to be great because we got one of the resourceful sons, one of the greatest sons of the land, who is right here with us in studio. And he will be telling us a lot about our history, our political history. And so I ask you to stay tuned. It's going to be a great conversation. And when it's always with Anthony CA, it's always great. There is not a dull moment with this is and then look forward to a great show, folks.
Thank you so very much, Joe. I'm happy to have you here. We're making technical adjustment at that end for our guest. And so, folks, this is Game TV. Again, we want to welcome you here. We're making some adjustment at the end of our guest. And once that adjustment is made, we will be bringing our guests to you. If you have not shared the show yet, we ask you to please do. Again, this is Game TV. Game TV is the media platform of the grassroots alternative movement. The grassroots alternative movement is a pro-democracy organization. We are into political advocacy. Here at Game TV, the issues are our priority. Our special guest for today is former Election Commission boss, Mr. James Flomoyan. He is our guest. So you want to stay with us. They are making adjustment at his end, and we will be bringing him to you so that we can welcome him. This will be an exclusive interview with him. He having to be one of the progressives of Liberia. He's been around. He's a man with a wealth of knowledge. I see that all is said. I see that he is comfortable now. At this time, I will welcome our guest, Mr. Chairman James Flomoyan. Mr. Chairman, welcome. I'm happy to have you. Joe is welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Antonin and Josiah. I'm appreciative of the invitation extended to me to be on your show. I follow Game for the brief period they have come into existence, and I think you are doing a marvelous job. Let's keep that up, and it's all in the interest of Liberia. Whatever is promotive of Liberia, most of Liberia democracy, is something that is dear to all of us. So I thank you for this invitation.
Thank you so very much. We are happy to have you. A little about our guest. Chairman James M. Flomoyan is one of Liberia's long-standing progressives who struggle to institute social justice and multi-party democracy in Liberia. He is credited for his many years of advocacy, speaking truth to power, and outstanding service in Liberia. He was one of the many patriots jailed at the maximum prison Belayara. Mr. Flomoyan's contribution to Liberia's recovery and development are immeasurable. He served as Assistant Minister and Acting Minister of Education, Executive Director of the Liberian Democracy Resource Center, Chairman of the National Elections Commission, and Chairman of the Liberian National Commission on Sumo. That is the profile of our guest. Again, we want to say, Mr. Chairman Flomoyan, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right. Mr. Josiah Joker, the conversation is set. I'm excited for us to have Chairman Flomoyan here. For the segment of this discussion, to those of you listening to us, you might be wondering why they had the chairman here. Why are they trying to talk about? Well, we will be talking about the journey of the progressive. So we'll be talking about the emergence of progressivism in Liberia. And also, we will talk about Liberia's democracy today and the future. If you don't know, Chairman Flomoyan has been around. He's a progressive. He has advocacy resume, like we read in his profile. He went to jail for advocating for a better Liberia. So that makes him to be uniquely qualified to talk about the issue of democracy in Liberia, and also talking about the contribution of the progressive as they are known in Liberia for the Liberia that we all want. Again, we are happy to have the chairman. Joe,
Yes.
I think all is set. Let's get started here.
Certainly, we are set to go. Chairman Flomoyan, are you there, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, we are ready to go, sir.
I am.
Okay, so Anthony has rightfully introduced you and did a summary of your profile, which is great, very, very informative. And so we look forward to a very good conversation from you. I think, Anthony, we are still having technical issues with our guests.
We are still having technical issues. So hold on with your first question there, Joe. Hold on with your first question there. Let me do something here quickly while we are trying to get the chairman back on the line. Hold on, let me do something here for our audience. To our audience, we told you this is Game TV. Game is the grassroots alternative movement. It is one of Liberia's newest pro-democracy and political advocacy organization. Game will be having a year-end program. Our annual program is coming on very, very soon. In this month of May, it will be on the 22nd of May. It will be a virtual year-end program. At this time, as you can see, we are inviting the entire public. It will be live right here in our studio here at Game TV, and you don't want to miss it. Okay, so Joe, let me bring you in, give a little highlight while we are waiting for the chairman to join us. Give a little highlight on the year-end program. What all should the audience or the public expect to see?
Absolutely. It promises to be great. The annual program will be held on May 22nd this year. And today is the 1st of May. So we got like 21 days to go. We're counting very seriously. It's going to bring together game members, officials from across the world, from Liberia and across the world. It's also going to bring special guests. We will be officially presenting our annual report. Everything that we did during the course of the year 2020. There are a lot of people who say we should just throw 2020 away. 2020 is not a year to remember because of all the challenges we had. So we should just throw 2020 away, but we cannot do that. And a lot went on negatively and positively, that we got our course for the future. So as an institution, we will certainly be presenting our annual report in terms of everything that we did during the course of the year. To the people and to the world as a whole, because we're going to have it virtually and it's going to be live. So people are going to access it from wherever they are. And the second phase of the event is going to be the recognition and honoring of great sons of Liberia, whether in the diaspora or in the country. Yeah, there are going to be about 10 of them. We have 2 persons from Game that will be recognized for their outstanding services. But we have 10 outstanding Liberians that will be receiving awards. I'm talking about awards, real awards, great awards, deserving awards. We are doing that to just let them know that we recognize the efforts they're making in their respective ways. There will be one outstanding award called the Game Freedom Award. We are a political social justice and advocacy institution. And so we will be recognizing one person and we will be presenting our highest award to that person, which is called the Game Freedom Award. So the event will be taking place on May 22nd, and we're going to be looking forward to having people join us during the course of the event. So it promises to be great, Anthony.
All right, thank you, Joe, for that highlight on the event that is coming on. We are happy to have the chairman back with us. The technical issues that we were having has been resolved. Chairman, you can see I'm smiling. I can't wait to share with us.
I know.
Okay.
I'm equally happy.
So Joe, roll our first question.
I will take it from here. So, Chairman Flomoyan, you know, is a progressive. He's a politician. He's an advocate. All of these positive attributes did not just come overnight. There are things that he worked for. There are things that he did, and Liberia remembers them very well. So it's really a pleasure and an honor today to have him sit with us to be able to recount some of these achievements and challenges along the way. So our chairman would like to start as a progressive and somebody, in fact, a professor at the University of Liberia. I know you taught me political science also. Let me just underscore that. Like many of our colleagues at the University of Liberia, you've contributed so much to the human resource development of our country, the growth and development of our country. What can you say were some of the factors and conditions, you know, that underpin progressivism in Liberia?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joked. I think the term progressive became a lot pronounced in the mid-70s. But if we look at the word progressive in the total democratic movement in Liberia that go years back, we can say that what happened in the early with when I was still in secondary school was a progressive move, a group of people that starting with the professor, the like of Dr. Amos Sawyer, people that served briefly at the University of Liberia, you know, then later on followed by one family who came much later. You know, students were already in the move of you know, clamoring for democratic change, really. And then they saw these the professor like of Dr. Sawyer as the kind of ideal personality that, you know, they could follow, because they themselves were quite outspoken those days, you know, under the Toba government. You know, so there where the trend of, you know, progressive activity began. And you should also remember this was the height of the Cold War between the then Soviet Union and the US, where ideological, you know, divide was, you know, the order of the day, you know, the political division that we saw globally. The Soviet Union fighting for a sphere of influence in Africa and Asia. So was the US that was already entrenched with our ally in NATO. So that was the era where students, of course, some of them saying what the US were doing had not been appropriate at the time, you know, propping up dictator like Tubman, and, you know, who was stepping on people. Basic rights were denied of people. So it was not that society was peaceful, and then, you know, this group of people just came and then tried to disrupt the order of the day. So it was what was obtaining at the university when some of all were in high school following those developments. I graduated from CH2A High School, 1973, but we were following commencement speeches given by Dr. Chipote, Jutuan William Mason, Dr. Sawyer, later on Yang Kweon Taya. You know, these were the people that were really preparing the stage for younger people to join them. So when I entered the University of Liberia in 1976, because after I graduated from high school, I worked for 2 years in Monrovia before you know, I didn't have money to go straight to the university.
That was the year I was born, 1976.
And I was born 1973.
Okay, I graduated from high school. So you see, I mean, that's how it is. So when I entered the university, I mean, the heat was already on, the Student Unification Party was in firm control. I joined the rank and file of SOUP, and then began to grow, within that movement. At the same time, with IMDA and so forth. All in all, we're there basically advocating for the basic rights of our people. I mean, that was the main thing that we're advocating for, that people needed equal opportunity. I mean, getting position didn't have to go by the kind of name that you carry. I think the qualification was what we were looking at. Most, once you're a Liberian, you qualify for a particular job, you should get it, so that there shouldn't be a class system as it was trying to be, at the time. So that was the advocacy that we joined and worked through the ranks and file of the party. 1978, our editor-in-chief for the student newspaper for the university, the spokesman. It was the paper of the day. I mean, people used to fight to get it. So we worked there, and also with a progressive president that came up in 1978, in person of Dr. Miriam Anthony Brown Sherman. May her soul rest in peace. One of the very, very honest Liberians I have ever seen in my whole lifetime. She was just there. I mean, stand up to any administration, speak truth to power without fear. She stood up to her own people because her father was former Chief Justice.
So let me just ask this question before I lose my train of thought.
Yeah.
Okay. You talked about the spokesman, and at that time you were the editor of the spokesman. And history tells us that the spokesman was one of the prominent papers. Interestingly, it was supposed to be a campus-based paper, but then it started competing with national dailies. National dailies. So you want to talk about the significance of the spokesman in your advocacy at the time? You want to just shed a little light on that?
Yes, indeed. And this is unlike today, where technology has advanced so much that you don't know what they call mimeography. We used to spend a whole night to produce the spokesman. It was not a daily, it was a monthly, but it surpassed every paper of the day, of that day. I mean, you can quote me. The American used to go buy 50 copies. I was editor before I couldn't even have a copy. Someone had to come borrow mine. So that's how much. And we were speaking of the rights of workers in Firestone, Bomb Mine. There was no limit to our advocacy in terms of the plight of our people. This is why people used to rush to buy the paper. And I mean, you name it. It's just that we didn't have the capacity to produce so much. But there was so much demand for it that before midday, when the spokesman came out, it was finished. Yeah, and in addition to that too, going cyber with that, we had the intellectual disco program, and I can say that was the moment I would call the renaissance, in Liberian education, really, when academic activity was at the highest level, really. We had a disco program where we would invite prominent people in government, minister, up to the vice president of Liberia, Benny Warner. We invited him at the university to deal with issue, gave you topic to go speak on, and then students will grill you with questions after speaking. Madam Salif, the late Jim C. Phillip, and depending on how you perform, we grade you. So it was something to see those days. I mean, people were.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know that you guys had a common goal to make sure that you deal with the vices at the time, the issue of corruption, the issue of marginalization. You all were clear about that. But the history also tells us that you guys approach this from splintered approaches, not from a common front. Because at that time, you had the movement for justice in Africa, and which was seen to be the Tipoteh wing, and you had the Progressive Alliance of Liberia. But you guys were seeking the same objective, but from different fronts. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, indeed. Whenever they're using the term progressive in Liberia, they're looking mainly at the Moja group along with PAR, or later on turned out to be PPP. That was true. When the late Marcus Matthew and others, may his soul rest in peace, were in the U.S., the organized Progressive Alliance of Liberia. We were already at the university. In fact, we used to help sell their paper. They used to produce the revolution. You know, they used to send it to Liberia. We used to, and it used to be a hotcake too, you know, because they had better print, you know, well written. So we used to sell. But we were, yeah, as the director put it, you know, had different approaches, you know, so, you know, how to, you know, deal with the problem on hand. And we were not there, you know, castigating one another as the case may be. So there's a lot of things that happen in part that we were not in knowledge of. It was not our business. The same thing with Moja, a lot of things that happened there, part we didn't know. But we have one thing in common as we professed at the time to be, that was the interest of the Liberian people. That's what we, and this is why if one of the moment where that came into play was April 14, 1979, the rights protests, you know, that we took part in. They were brought about by the late Marcus Matthew, that they were going to protest it at our program, March 1979, to do a Moja anniversary at the Sport Commission. So we thought that was a popular cause. So if the price of rice had been increased, it would have adversely affected our people. So we gave a support to the protests, and the rest of it is something that we can discuss later. It's a history that we can explain in much more detail when the time is there.
Yeah, quickly, Chairman Flomoyan, you know, when we read and listening to others telling the story of you, the progressives,
yeah,
one moment is this rice riot or protest, some people call it, you know, the protest for rights. It tends to define, you know, the progressive, almost like a climax. I'm not saying that's why it is. So that comes to the issue of that price of rice you're talking about. Some people are mixing it.
Yeah.
So can you explain to us what was your argument at the time concerning the price of rice? Was it that the price was enough? Were you asking for specific action or intervention from the part of the government to keep it at a lower price? Was it about affordability? Please explain all the things there for us to understand.
Yeah. Well, the government of Liberia at the time had contemplated increasing the price of rice.
Okay.
We didn't have problem with the price of rice as it was. People were buying it. The economy was all right, and we didn't have problem. But increasing it about $5 or so addition, that was a lot of money. We felt it was somehow enough from selfish standpoint. At that time, I was a junior student at the University of Liberia on scholarship, living on the dormitory, making $50 a month, which was a lot of money for me because I was not buying food, and having prospect of getting a job after graduation. You know, so even though I get a bag of rice price up to $50, it wouldn't affect me. But we were looking at the common people down, you know, store boys, soldiers, as it should ought to be, who were making little or nothing. It will affected them, and the rationale the government gave, which could not fly anywhere, was that they wanted to increase the price of rice to give incentive to farmers to, you know, produce more rice, so that we can be self-sufficient in food production. You and I know we come from a farming background. Before I was born, my parents were using cutlasses and hoe. The same cutlasses and hoe, you know, that are born is what they say using today. See, there's no way they could have produced enough food to feed themselves and sell some. In fact, you hardly produce or feed yourself all year round. We have the hunger season. So we said, well, look, if we only have benefited few people in government who have large farm, mechanized farm, the like of Mr. Torba himself, J.T. Phillips, and then these are guys that because they had the machinery, everything to make big farm. So they could afford to make farm and sell the excess. Well, people don't produce to sell excess. So that was our stand. And there was intervention made by Aberport, the late Aberport, who also had, paid so much price for the freedom that we enjoying today, all the what you made. The Omen tribe, but in government, as much as I consider Tobo my #1 president, but people do make mistakes, and you have some people around you that will be telling you things that may not be right, and you follow it. He meant well, but in the particular case, he was wrong. He wanted to back up, but then you had Justice Minister at that time, Oliver Bright, then, beating their chest that they can't back up, Vanny Dempster, Director of Police. So that was the state of affairs until everything, all hell broke loose. That morning, that Saturday morning, April 14, 1979, police had gone to Power Head Office. I think there was some clash, which led now to things went out of hand, and the protest just took off, in that morning. Then the police started shooting at people and killing people. To the extent that the army, in my own presence, because I was at the time the only student leader really in town. The rest of the people had gone to Cottington. There was a Linsu Congress, Communist Wizard, Dorset, locally, John Stewart, all the guys were at Cottington. But at the same time, I was chairman of SOUP. I was chairman of SOUP, 79, and my final year, 1980. So we stayed there, and after the police, in fact, the army were beating at Wusokwara, so army people beating police. The army were on the side of the protester. And I think for the very reason I told you, which I didn't even know, because they were making the list. So they felt that we were fighting for them. That how can they beat police? Because the army was not on the side of the protester. It would have been a worst case. So they went through, some of us were picked up. The first time we went to jail, we were jailed. That very year, the OAU summit was coming to Liberia. And Toba was going to be chairman. Toba was sensitive to public opinion. There was a lot of pride that he should free. Well, in fact, he set up a commission, the NEC Brownell Commission, the former Associate Justice, the father of Mary Brownell. He was chair of that commission that did a detailed report and found out that the government was wrong. And this is what people don't even look at it. The Brownell report, people should research it, and found the government wrong, for the step that they took. It's not a protester that protester didn't kill people, So that's what happened at the time, and it was unfortunate that people died, who were killed, were jailed. That was not compared to people who died really. And then
thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you. Thank you. So fast forward, at some point, you were jailed in Beria.
I wanted to ask a question, Anthony, before you come to that. Please.
Okay.
The chairman elaborated a lot, and he brought in the perspective of Tobo, President Tobo. There are many Liberians who also hold on to that view that Tobo is one of the best presidents in our history. But history also tells us that Tobo moved away almost 100% from the policies of his predecessor, President Topman. The non-alliance movement, the non-alliance policy, one of those. He started going deeply towards the east, and the United States did not like that. And can you say that there was an external factor that also contributed to the toppling of Tobo's government, or it was just your persistent movement domestically that unseated President Tobo in the brutal way in which it happened? Was there external factors?
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that very much. I'm inclined to believe that. In the first place, Samuel Doe then were not at the level to plan coup. They were not sophisticated, non-commissioned officer. You know, in Africa, people who plan coup are general, people who are knowledgeable, who can draw maps, I mean, in Nigerians, all the coup that are taking place in Nigeria, Ghana, you hear about
Right.
Master Sergeant. I mean, these are general that plan coups, So, but besides that, there was also an ambush arranged. We understand for Torbo, if you were to go to Bentor, that was headed by William Jabo, who was a better trained soldier compared to Doden. It was American trained, highly trained. So it tells you that there was a plan. We so-called progressive didn't have control over army. I mean, who had control of the army? They have been the American all along. They have control of our army up to date. Now, who else will have the killing of the 13 people? Who will have stopped it? The American will have stopped it if they wanted to. Sasso Denham ran and went to the American embassy to turn him down.
So you don't want to believe that your advocacy probably might have incited the military from taking this action?
It's not the military. What we were doing, he was not against the military. So those who probably interest felt threatening, I can say, with the American. I told you they were the height of the Cold War. Don't forget about that. Mm-hmm. The East and West divide, and just the fact that we were not socialists, as the case may be. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I'm glad some of us living now to see socialists in America. In President Bernie Sanders, then AOC and all these people have appeared on the scene, in American politics and making impact there, something that they never used to want to hear about, in other countries. Trump was just a patriot, let me put it that way, And Jogada, I agree with you, he had the problem with his own people, to the point that his wife said that top minister used to gossip about him and say all kind of thing about him, because they felt he was going too far, to the left. And then that was the case. But I want to believe that there were external factors. Top didn't just die. They died. And those who survived and was executed, the American have put their feet down, those people would not have been killed. Period. Nobody ever would have stopped it. Just the American. Put Samuel Doe because they know where Doe came from. Even Mrs. Tauber book that she wrote lifted. I think in there she made mention about one of those the person that killed her husband. He saw a white hand. Yeah. So got a book and read it. So these are the situations that are obtained. And we even one of the best of situations.
She talked about a foreign hand. She talked about a foreign hand in the killing of her husband, and that's one of the reasons. She talked about a foreign hand in the killing of her husband. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I thought to highlight this question. Just to close before Anthony can come in, does that has anything to say about the unknown soldier? About the unknown soldier, does it have anything to say about the unknown soldier?
Well, from story that we hear, that that's exactly the point. Yeah, I understand that one of those involved was killed, and that's what gave rise to that unknown soldier that they had there. Yeah.
So the unknown soldier represent the unknown hand that killed Tobo?
That's the popular saying. I don't have empirical, evidence that the case may be, but that's what we hear.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Again, folks, you are watching Game TV. Game TV is the media platform of the Grassroots Alternative Movement, a pro-democracy and political advocacy organization. We are happy to have with us former Election Commission Chairman, Mr. Jim Flomoyan, as our guest. Chairman, so the days of student advocacy will come and pass. You serve as the editor of the Speaker of a student-based newspaper that was popular, and you graduated at some point. You became a
I
man.
served as party chairman of the
Uh-huh.
Student Unification Party
Party
for 2
chairman.
years,
Party
which
chairman
is
of the
even more
Student
than,
Unification Party. So,
yeah, for 2 years.
so my question
Mhm.
is, you were Joe in Bella Yala, and
Yeah.
as a price you paid for your advocacy yesterday, looking at what we see today happening, because you wanted a better Liberia, the quote-unquote multi-party democracy. Are there regrets and disappointment and sorrows? Because I'm saying that you pay a price for something that,
Yeah.
do we have that?
Well, I can't say it's 100%. I mean, in life, there gotta be those who will struggle for a change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if everybody happen to sit down and fold their hand, things will remain, as they are. Even if you had the best of leader, things will not always be right. The Americans have Biden. At some point in time, there will be some protests on him. As much as we know, you can't compare him anywhere to Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But democracy call for that. There room for protests. Under the democratic system. So we struggled. We went to jail. We were beaten. Hoping to have a better Liberia. And Trevor didn't do that to us. It was Samuel Doe that did that to us. And because when we were advocating during the time of Trevor, they cooked the place. Some of us said, look, we will continue. Some people say, oh, indigenous people have not come to power, we should stop. Under my chairmanship, year as chairman of SOUP, 1980, the year of the coup, we expelled some of our partisans, who took ethnic posture in government. The like of the late James Legge, Stevie Bole, Isaac Bantu. Under my signature, we expelled them because we felt that they were contented with the military junta, and we should not criticize the junta. So our criticism was not just from one group of people. So that's the stand some of us took. And we're happy that multi-party democracy saw birth given to multi-party democracy. Prior to that, part of the pushing we did was for 1979, Sawyer decided to challenge the True Party for the position of city mayor. Yeah, which they were not prepared for. We did all the background work with the late the chairman at the time. I'll think of the name, So the old man were there. No serious election taking place. Their shell was dusted up. So we went and did all the research because you needed to have property in fee simple, to contest a position. Can you imagine? Run for position. So Sawyer got a piece of land, Cowell, processed everything. So when he announced, they were taking their pens down that he was running as a popular professor, loved by the people, running against the True Party candidate, Chuchu Houghton. So that was something to see in 1979. So True Party had to back off because their candidate was going to be defeated, to the point that Chuchu Houghton's own brother, a younger brother, James Houghton, wrote Sawyer a letter supporting Sawyer. So just imagine how devastating that was to the Houghton family, children in particular. So I said, the True Party duped him. So he supported in an open letter of support to Sawyer, which was published in newspaper. That's how things went. And yeah, things are not been going fairly, as we expected. Some of us have drifted in a way, but I think the idea is still there. What we started is there, and what all you all are doing is contributing towards it. It's an idea that nobody can kill. You come and try to suppress it. Samuel Doe did what he But the country not live any better. It's
All right.
not as we expected, but we got to continue to persevere and push
Before I can
harder.
bring Joe in, Chairman, I'm curious here.
Hmm.
Two things here. I want you to tell
Yeah,
me, what did you go through when you were in Belayara? I'm curious about the treatment. Why were the specific things that happened? What kind of hardship? Because we hear so many stories, so we want to hear your story. What happened to you in Belayara?
yeah,
Second thing, you serve as
yeah.
National Election Commission Chair. You telling the story that Sawyer contested to be
Hmm.
city mayor for Monrovia. So my understanding
Yeah.
is that this city mayor position should be something that should be occupied
Elected
through election. You were election chairman.
precisely.
I didn't see
Yeah.
election for city mayor. Why?
No. Well, if we start from that, it was indeed be provided. We tried by all means, and we didn't get the kind of support from the government as the case may be. So, and it's not only this government, Madam Salif herself. She at least she know better, and in terms of governance and what have you, one expected that she would have supported us to conduct those elections. But city mayor should be elected. I mean, period. And that how it should be. And it's unfortunate that it didn't happen when we were in power, and it's still not happening now. The people should have a choice who should be the city mayor, just like you do in America. But that is what it is for now. So,
Yeah, chairman, I'm not satisfied. You were the chairman. You should be
yeah.
advising. You were advising the president on election matters. You needed to tell her that, Madam President, this is what the law says, and this is what we must do, or else I'm out of here. You didn't do that, chairman.
No, well, I don't think I would just say I'm out of here because we don't have election for city mayor. I mean, well, I mean, you could say that, but I think there's a lot more to at stake
Okay.
than just having the city mayor election. We made a point, I mean, we didn't sleep on it, but then if she didn't do it, I mean, she didn't go along. If you had somebody else could still step there as chairperson of the election commission. But there's a lot more that the commission uh, had on a plate to carry on, while we're there. And I think some of those activities we can recount our own achievement as chair of the election commission. They are there for people to see. So if we come to naming some of what we did, we can delve into that.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to Bella Yella,
Mm-hmm.
in the first place, we didn't commit any crime for the 10 months we spent in jail, almost five in Bella Yella, other five in Post Turkey. We didn't commit any crime. We're arrested on mere suspicion. There used to be an underground leaflet that used to come up from the University of Liberia. I was no longer a student. As I told you, I graduated in 1980, 81. I went to Bonyama to work, Bonyama Model Lateral High School, up to 82. I returned to Monrovia, and I was teaching assistant when we were arrested, 1984, on Lucia Masale, now married to Yala. They were boyfriend and girlfriend, Demsa Yala, Ezekiel Pajibo, and myself. We were the first that were arrested on December 4, 1984. Then followed by Alari Tokba and the late Christian Herbert. So we're six in jail. I was their leader. We went there, it's God. We give, the glory to God because Alari, who were with us, had a parents in Bella Yella. That helped us a whole lot. So we could not eat the prison food because if we didn't have them there, we're going to be forced to eat the prison food. Give you one cook spoon of dry rice and half, put a little salt on it, no oil, nothing.
Hmm.
And you will have money in your pocket, you can't eat the money. It was terrifying. I mean, sleeping among people who have killed, but our Belayala meant for, people have gone good, they were convicted, sent them to Belayala. I mean, people rose, different type of people, or the judge around some of those people, from from across Terminal Island, other places, and then just carry them to Belayala. They flew us there, and one thing I should say, the commander that was there was one Sapo guy, Colonel David Norman. That was a human being. He was a gentleman. That man, I said, my children, I have so many children. You couldn't do anything, Some of you have graduated from university. I didn't know a few guys, Demsa and Ezekiel, they were still, LU. So the post say they send you put here for safekeeping. I will not let you go in the bush. Yeah, the fact we will not save him already. We had to go to Belayala for safekeeping. So that man for a normal item so nicely. Sometime midnight in jail, he would send for me. He had kerosene Xbox running 24 hours. Take one cold bottle of beer, large beer. Can you imagine? Prisoner sitting and drinking beer with the commander. Yeah, of course, a lot of people kill him, but he was a gentleman. I mean, a super gentleman. So that will allow parents being there, bringing food for us, bringing water for us. They gave us strength. Then the teachers there, while we on the field working, because they told the commander that he was holding all like chicken egg, that place for hard work, with their hard labor. So he used to send us to work on a cassava farm, a sugarcane farm. Then the teachers would bring palm wine, on the field to us. So we're better in Belayala, in terms of physical, fitness than the post office where you are in jail throughout, because we're working, enjoying ourselves, listening to plane coming, but there was no car roll. Someone on the field would say, "Oh, I think I hear sound of plane." The air taxi, waiting to get some news from another. So that's how we were doing it. So it was wanted to break our spirit, but we kept our spirit high. And in the end, we're taken back to Monrovia and free before the year of 1985.
So before you guys were incarcerated in 1984, you were a teacher assistant at the University of Liberia, and there were these two scenarios. Though being a student, as far as graduating from the University of Liberia, and he also issuing remove or be removed, command. You want to talk about those two scenarios, remove or be removed, and then do as a student to the point of graduating. What did you see in his scholarship as a student, because it was so emphasized that he was an outstanding student and giving his status as president of the nation, coming and sitting in classroom at the University of Liberia. At that time, we did not have this technology to do online. It was in person, coming with all the security detail and everything. How was that? How can you respond to that now? And how can you also respond to his command, remove or be removed?
Well, I think starting with the remove or be removed, I remember it was when they arrested Sawyer. The students went on campus. They were protesting. I remember though was to go address the legislature. In fact, they were carrying a symbol of a casket. They said that door was in it, and there was some student there singing Crown song. So the play was tense. That's the day he gave that order where the university was invaded. And luckily for us too, Miranda and Brown Sherman had left the campus. So they raided the place. As I said, I was teaching assistant. I had left from there earlier in the day. I went to check for my check, and they say it was not ready yet. And we were busy with party politics outside, trying to form LPP. So I think it's because of what he was hearing from the student. That was his knee-jerk reaction. By giving that order. as a military person. So they invaded the campus and raped some ladies and so forth, brutalized some students. It was unfortunate. Then Sawyer was picked up to the jail. So, but when it comes to his own ambition to learn, I think should give him that credit, because when he started, he was saying, "Oh, you got your master's degree, I got my M16." But the fact that he realized that M16 will not carry him anywhere, I mean, he thought of going to school. That meant that he was a leader who wanted to learn. I mean, and that shows some distinction between him and some other leaders, that will be in power, who didn't have the requisite education. They in power and say they want to learn, and over time he improved. I must admit, I was not in country now when he was 1985 after the Penalba episode, and I never went back until so. But I used to follow him. At least he improved. But when he took over newly, I knew the man used to be really trembling, But before he was killed, he has improved remarkably. I must say that much. Yeah.
So it means that education was meaningful for him. It was good, in spite of the fact that he was president, but it was good that he took up the challenge and then he went to school and acquired.
Yeah. And you can see a difference, you can see a qualitative difference in his speaking and so forth, his leadership style and everything else. Yeah, he was decisive. He was not just sitting down there, I mean, people pushing things to him. No, I commend him for that.
Right.
Joe?
Yeah, Anthony?
All right. So that come to this question. You are still prepared to contribute to Liberia Forward March. What are you doing now?
I think there's one that comes before that, Anthony. This one.
Okay.
This one, his expectations. His expectations.
All right. Yeah, let's do that. So do you think your expectation about instituting multi-party democracy and social justice in Liberia were met?
I can say it is still ongoing process. It's still unfolding. I mean, it's not a 1 day thing or 2 days, as the case may be. It takes time. People will make some mistakes. It might interest you to know that on a 12 from my assessment, what was obtaining is better than what is obtaining today. In terms of democratic development in the country. But the light is there, and this is where the very institution that we work for, the Election Commission, is so crucial in what we do, because that's the institution that people ought not to ignore, because the groundwork we lay there to make sure that if I'm voting for Anthony, there should be no obstruction in my way in voting for Anthony. I should vote on my free will, the Anthony representative there to see, and at the end of the day, let the counting be done in the presence of all the observer party agents. Let just what we put in place. Because once you press for that to be in place, if anything that happens, you can say, yeah, satisfied with the result. Did it last year, December 8th. I have a center that we have established, Center for Development and Election Management, as a way of contributing to, say the democratic growth. Because we're there, to provide training of pool workers, we can build capacities of, cadres of a particular party. We are not a partisan group, but we provide those training, basic training, and election monitoring, observation. Where that's the area we are in, because we believe that the election commission is critical. And once the writing is done there, if it is, fairly, people have the record in their hand, then the people have spoken. Did it last year, December 8th. It's not all about money. You got how much money wasting, and we saw what happened last year, December 8th. There were some candidates that have more money. They used to call them ATM machine, but they didn't win. They were decisively beaten by candidates that never had money. In comparison, now nowhere close. So the eyes of people are open, and when one is in power, you got to do the best you can. Because we out of 15 senatorial seats that were contested, I think the ruling party won just three. So that tells you something not going right.
All right, and I
right.
giving you.
Let me do a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Asana, you go.
Oh, I wanted to ask, given your work or experience, have you been contacted in any way, shape, or form by our current administration for any advisory role, anything?
Absolutely none. I was head of the Small Arms Commission. Josiah worked with me, just as he did with me in the Election Commission, because my style of leadership is, to try to get the best librarian you can get, younger people, to form a team. I had a group there, like a Blamossier, who they all work together. I mean, I was not looking at people because you are Pele or you are, no, that was not. Once you were up to the task, you Blamossier, Amos Kokor. I mean, I brought this group of people, they were coolly in the IT area, so we never had problem. Because once you get the rightful people, you as the head, you relax because the task will be, performed. That's the kind of, the leadership role that we provided at the commission. But while with the Small Arms Commission, even the ECOWAS ambassador who was here went and told the current government that I had transformed that commission so much that ECOWAS had absolute confidence in me to stay. But they replaced me. I was not too surprised, that I was replaced. So
why were you not too surprised? Despite your qualification, why were you not surprised, Chairman?
Well, again, but this is the group before they came to power. They were already accusing me. I was cheating then. I was doing this. I was a friend of Madame Salif. And in the end, they became more of a friend of Madame Salif than Madame Salif and myself.
Were friends?
Yeah, they went in bed with Madame Salif. 2017. The records are there. So who is more of a friend of Madame Salif? And all I did was to do the right thing. If I had gone wrong, people who had gone to court, all that noise they were making here and there, none of them, up to now. If I did anything wrong, and the records are there, let them dig it up. Let them dig it up. I love challenges, very much so. When Bromsky, the late councillor Bromsky, thought he was cheated, he went to court, exhibited evidence. That's all what, democratic governance is all about, it's not in your mouth.
Right.
I can't just Anthony say, cheated me, just in my mouth. Where's the evidence? Or you want to be like Trump? Went around up to they say that he was cheated.
But then he the one was looking for votes around.
So that
he said you only wanted votes. Yeah, you only want that certain number of votes.
You're looking for 11,000 votes.
Mr. Chairman, Asoni asked a very good question. Considering all that you have done for Liberia, whether or not the current administration has in any manner or form contacted you, and your answer to that is a resounding no. Got it.
Yeah.
But we can recount here if we want to for days in terms of those cogent, those tangible contributions that you have made to Liberia's recovery and development. I know that you are one Liberian who is very sacrificial. The very day Doe was captured, you were in America. You had no reason going to Liberia. The very day Doe was, you were one of the few Liberians who accepted to get on a ship to go to Liberia in defense of the country, so that thing don't go head-to-head. You are one of the few Liberians, along with Sawyer and other people. I know that your contribution to the education sector, when you serve as IT assistant and IT minister at education, the contribution you made to the recovery of that institution. The Elections Commission, moving it from a private entity all the way to its own building, a private building, its own building. You negotiated with UC, the American government, and they built the current headquarters of the commission, to the extent that the largest warehouse right now, government-owned warehouse right now, is named after you because of your efforts, also that got that bill. And the 19 magisterial offices and warehouses across the 15 counties. I mean, people can recount all these things you have done. How you established the first arms management regime in Liberia, the first arm management law, guns law in the country, and currently getting all of the arms registered in our country is through your efforts. I think people. I sort of asked the question from the perspective of people looking beyond politics and making sure that the right thing is done in the country. Don't refuse to invite Anthony to share in the contribution to the development of Liberia because of his political standing, his social standing. I think that's the angle from which he asked that question. But let me ask the question the other way. If they ask you, even though they haven't, but if they come to you now, will you be willing to serve or to play any advisory role or to play any role that will ask you to play? Because you are still connected with AU, with ECOWAS, with the EU, and they have a lot of respect for you. Your role in the government will translate that into something positive. Will you still accept if
I mean,
ask you?
Well, Joker, the point here is that all of us want the best for our country. As you so clearly put it, I was in America when the Civil War erupted. I knew what was happening in my country. I mean, I was following CNN, reading the Washington Post, New York Times, Liberia was the news. So that very Sunday, I left to go to, September 9, 1990, to go to the Gambia where the interim government was posted. Well, then when ECOMOS called on Sawyer that they needed an advanced team of the interim government, mind you, I had applied for political asylum, it was granted. I had American refugee passport. That's the extent to which I went. In less than a year, Liberia, American refugee passport, I had it. So when we went out, I had my Nigerian girlfriend, we were living together, and I went for 2 weeks in the Gambia to go back to the US. When I went, that call came from Monrovia, ECOMO. Dr. Levi Zanga decided he told Sawyer he was going. So I told Sawyer I would go with Zanga because, Zanga from LAP, you and myself from LPP, I will go. How can I forget about going back to America? The 2 weeks, I forgot about going out to America. We flew to Freetown, and we're in Freetown. Tiawan Gonglo joined us. We saw John Stewart there. He was already in Freetown with one Nathaniel. And we, on the 24th of September 1990 in Monrovia, exactly 1 month after ECOMO landed. So that's how, it was not a question of like going for money. Not like when Ellen took over, people leaving America rushing for job, like the California Gold Rush, or when we are one, people leaving coming. This was a war zone, and I'm telling you about. Monrovia was a war zone, and to find a grain of rice were called gold dust that time. So I took that risk. I would have been killed. The very day we got to to maneuver. Prince Johnson had killed one Michael Doe and the chief accountant at the Hotel Africa where we were stopping. So we saw a lot, but it was one of giving your people hope, by just our appearance. I carried 2 bags right from Freetown. I mean, because I couldn't believe it. That time, no motorbike. Who would? People used to walk from Broad Street to go to Hotel Africa. When you give a friend 2-3 cup of rice, they would thank you forever. So that's how we manage it. Cleaning garbages all around the city. The first food for work. We wrote a proposal to World Food Program, gave us a lot of flour, and that's just how we're managing cleaning place. Before soya then came in November, we are already laid the groundwork, cleaned the Duco and everything else. So it's and we can go and recount some, because for some of us, I who have Dr. Formula taught me from the university. I said, look, let me stay right on Monrovia and be some director at the Ministry of Education. I said that we're known all over. I said, let me go home and be a classroom teacher to Bonyama Model Lateral High School. While I was there for three months, there was vacancy for vice principal for administration. The principal, one James Akujala, felt I had the qualification, I had contact in Monrovia more than him, that I should be I should put him. I didn't even want to be, but my colleague then, Gabriel Tabe, Samuel Kodiman, and so Jimmy go there and be our eye in administration. That how come I became one of the youngest, vice principal for administration in the school with more than 1,000 students, dormitory facility. 1982, I ran the school as I think principal. The principal went for his master's degree. So that's impacting the life of so many people. The like of Gedemina Flomo, Towa Jala, then graduated Tanu Maulo, all of those people went through the walls of Bonima Model Lateral High School. So when I look back and see what we did, I think it's a service to country. And you talk about election commission. You know how much government were paying? 16th Street building, 100,000 US per annum. I mean, Anthony.
Wow.
And that, yes.
Yeah.
They were going to the dentists, Hillary Dennis, and we were eating that kind of money. The buildings will leak on us. Yeah. I ran behind 2 different USA mission directors. Madam said, they don't know anything about those buildings up there. You can quote me anytime. Right. The first one was an African American called Dr. Wilbur Thomas. I ran behind Dr. Thomas until he was recalled. Then the person that replaced him was one Pamela White, a white lady. I got behind Dr. White, Pam. I mean, speaking the language that they can hear. Finally, she agreed. She told me, oh, you say cannot build from scratch. We talked, the people when they want to do certain things. They got to be based on how you persuade them. I talked until she finally agreed to put that place at school. Can you imagine from 2010, if government was still paying rent, the amount I call, you pay almost 2.1 million. Then at 2.1 million from 2010, the building was put up. We moved in 2010, Then there was a warehouse to Star Base, another $40,000 for that US. Across the bridge, far from all. I said, but the space here is enough for us to build a warehouse, a national warehouse. Now what Joker, they mentioned about. We put that warehouse there. In fact, that's the warehouse to use for Ebola material when Ebola came in, because such a giant warehouse. So that $140,000, I mean, being with the ingenuity, thinking fast, about what can be done, that save government. And more than that, the absolute majority requirement. I fought so hard to get rid of. That one, we can't even measure in dollars and cents, because that would be millions and millions of dollars, every time we had election. If at all levels you win with absolute majority, it was nonsense. The backward primitive law that we're upholding. But we thank God that even though it went to court, but if the commission they had the votes, the court did not manufacture the votes, and based on technical blunder there, based on advisor. But I was happy the other party went to court, and that particular proposition passed. That's saving government today. So just imagine, I mean, if the election that was held last December and other election before then, I don't think two persons really won with absolute majority. Probably no Delong and looking at that. Otherwise, to go to have a rerun, you know what I mean? You know, when people cannot even provide money for the real election, then you talk about, you know, we're just going to be. But these are contribution we made. People don't look at it, you know. Even the past government, yeah.
There will be my final question. Time is fast spent here.
Yeah,
so we just had a peaceful transfer of power. We can cry about the economic hardship our people going through today.
Yeah.
But peaceful transition of power is key. It hinges on elections, something you have expertise in. My first question, knowing what we know in terms of candidates, should Liberian be hopeful? And what's your take on the political process leading to election in terms of candidates? And then my second question would be, Ronnie Sherman of recent, I read an article where he's warning the entire country that chances are that we might have to extend the elections. He said it's not only about money, it's about planning beforehand. That's another area you have expertise too. What do you have to share with the Liberian people listening to you on these two issues that I just raised? My final questions.
Well, the last one you raised, I didn't follow Vanishema on that. He will have some facts on hand, and also based on some of what's going on, one can be inclined to believe that you know. But again, when we're in power, we had election on time. We never one day, not a day, we went beyond the required time by law that we should have election. That record is clear. But this poll, I told you we had last year, December 8th election. It shouldn't have been December. Election are going in October. You know, so they that, and it's I don't know what they consider the priority, but at the same time, they don't want to hear about interim arrangement. But you got to put money forward for election. The special senatorial election that just passed last year, there were a lot of he there. Up to now, I understand that the government is still owning vendors, people who have vehicles, you know, for rental, the people who print their ballots in Ghana. I understand the government owing to the tune of 4 million US. That's a lot of money when you still have some by-election pending. You know, because some senators, like in the case of bombing, Snow, Grand Jida, Zopenu, Prince, Moy in Bong, you know, then you had Nimba. You know, so all of these by-elections are there, and you got to spend for them, you know. So I don't know. Probably Banishema he could be right, you know, but that's the extent to which people have been dragging the country, you know, in the wrong direction. The first question was on the leadership. Hello.
Yeah, my first question was on. Yeah. We just enjoy a peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the candidates right now, the ones that we know who have said about express their interest. Looking at those candidates, should Liberians be hopeful of a departure from what we have today for something better?
Well, I think the whole question of election is people always trying to seek a better leadership. Definitely, I think if Liberian just raise themselves out, you want to look for a change in leadership. Feel that the leadership have failed you, and which is natural. That you have to look around, and that's the whole essence of election. what I say is the only thing that we all got to press for is for the process to be free, fair, and transparent. Let people see through it, so that if Liberians decide to retain the leadership we have today, let it be done in a democratic way, so that they will have to be blamed. I don't subscribe to the saying that, oh, yes, if the opposition, if they don't hold together, some people break away. Those things you will expect that people will break away. But in the final analysis, I think it will boil down to, 2% when, for runoff, as the case may be. And at such time, because some of the parties, between you and myself, they are there in need, in terms of, the following they don't have. There are just few parties that can make the kind of impact. So in the end, it will, as I always been the case, will boil down to two parties, and it makes people making choice easier that way, because. But I can't speak for the people of Liberia. As I say, I'm in the NGO setting, but we all can try to hope for the best in the face of all what we have seen, and we just push for the process to be free, fair, and transparent.
Oh, great. The process to be free, fair, and transparent. We all have been hopeful. You guys were hopeful before we all started thinking the same way collectively. But let me say here, Mr. Chairman, that 133 years passed. 3 years of one-party rule, the so-called Grand Trueway Party held the country for more than a century. Yeah, almost a century and a half. We crossed that, and you guys struggle to ensure that we attain multi-party democracy in our country. Now we no longer have one-party rule. We have up today we can also have more than 20 political parties, even though many of us don't like it that way. It's a messy process. One that makes it very difficult for the Liberian people to make better choices, informed choices. But like you said, the process is ongoing. It's not a one-day thing. Probably we might narrow that in the not too distant future. But I think you guys, the progressive, take a credit for instituting multi-party democracy in our country. We can say that clearly without any ambiguity. The other thing is that the new challenge that emerged is the fight that we are not having parties as established institutions. When I say established institutions, institutions that don't look up to individuals, institutions that have system and procedures that make it work for our democracy, that will contribute to the building of a functional democracy. We lack that. It is the other way around, the converse, which is having people look up to individuals and not the institutions with ideologies. So many Liberians keep blaming the progressives for them not holding together because they were a group of people bound together by certain ideologies. Why is it that you guys did not hold together? You did not remain together to be able to get Liberia out of this quagmire, this political situation that we face? That's a question many Liberians face. So if I may ask the last question, why didn't that happen? And why hasn't that happened? Because many of you are still around and some are active in politics. Why hasn't that happened?
Well, that's a question that I can't have a relative answer for it. If we can look backward during the 80s, actually, when we were organizing the Liberian People's Party under the chairmanship of Dr. Sawyer, in fact, the establishment at that time, because I can say without an appeal of contradiction that we had the most vibrant political party of the time, Liberian People's Party, in terms of educated young people from the university, with a chairman that was not compromising, Sawyer, So as a result, we suffer more than any other political party in terms of imprisonment The number of our people that went to jail, Sawyer, George Keir, Dusty Willoqually, I mean, you name it. Then the batch of us. No other political party went anywhere close to that because people knew that we were much of a threat to them than any of the other parties around. So they created an obstacle. We never really had the time to enter the political race in 1985. We had to support the Liberian Action Party
I'm told you were denied. I'm told you were denied registration.
So after that, when the interim period came, there was a question of reorganizing the LPP. It took on different trend, really. So that I not have the time to delve into all what we went through, but it had been a tough thing. Some of the older people who were heading the party were no longer in that position as of taking over. Like for instance, Sawyer, we all got buried in one way or the other in the Ellen government, and yeah, up to now, LPP is still finding its bearing to gather the resources they don't have. Yeah, but it's something in the works from the LPP side, as I know about. However slowly it's going, but that's a valid point you made, and I mean, that was the thinking of some of us, but it never really happened, and that's why we are here today. But it's as I said, people are still struggling, and we still can say probably our best have not yet. We still setting the stage. We hope things will be better. In I appeared in one program with T. Mike Gillard some time ago, and T. Mike said, "Look, the whole question of leadership." I said, let's look at Sankara that was in Burkina Faso, because this just happened after the Blaise had been indicted, Blaise Compaoré, So the next day, I told Tim Mike, I said, that was the best news I ever got in a long time, that Blaise Compaoré had been indicted and is to face military tribunal in Burkina Faso for the assassination of Thomas Sankara. Sankara, this man didn't go attend an Ivy League school. He was just a common soldier, had some training in Morocco. Look at what the man did. For the short period he was in power. That man was even better than Rawlings in a way. This man was taking prostitutes. I think he did more for women than any other president. Would I include Ellen? Of Africa, Thomas Sankara, taking women, prostitutes from the street, putting them into meaningful activity, home economic. I listened to that man, I listened to some of the prostitutes, 1987, I was so impressed. I mean, I said, look, this is a man that provided what I call a typical leadership, somebody with a heart, and that heart, he have it for everybody. Minister could not ride first class, business class in a plane. Small car, no expensive car. In that hot country. Man was so loved. Then this man who he considered a brother, who lived with them, went and killed him. Dumped the body in the mass grave. University student stood up in Burkina Faso. So they got to exhume the body and give him an honorable burial. And today, where is Blaise Compaoré? And they drove him in Ivory Coast. I know Ivory Coast will not turn him over. But the fact that thing is hanging while he can't go home, where he called himself president for so many years. So good name is better than bad one. Because Sankara people, yeah. So that's what it is, Yeah.
All right, Chairman. Thank you, and thank you so very much. We hope at some time in the future we can have the honor to have you again. Talking about Liberia is the first step to reaching to that promised land that we all want. We can't thank you enough. And to those of you listening to us, we have had with us here now former chairman of the National Election Commission, Mr. James Flomoyan, as our guest here at Game TV. Thank you for sticking with us. We appreciate that. We're going to close now. Joe, anything you want to say before we close, or I can close us?
You can go ahead and close now.
All right. So again, folks, this is how we will come to the end of our broadcast. Next week, same time, same place, we will be here for yet another edition of our program here at Game TV. Our theme song is going to close us right now. Thank you for watching, and we appreciate you sticking with us. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.